Hi, I was getting ready to make this video for you this week, and it occurred to me that there's some really great takeaways I had from this reading I was doing on Facebook Live this week. There were a few takeaways I wanted to share with you from that, and so without further ado, I'm gonna let you watch them from younger me. So take it away, Benjamin.
Welcome. You have found your way to my Morning Mindset book study. And my Morning Mindset book study is right now covering the book The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, in which he says this is the proven mental program to life of wealth. So it is essential, however, that your purpose should harmonize with the purpose that is in all. And he has that in italics, so it's pretty significant, right? He says this, he says, you must want real life, not mere pleasure of sensual gratification. Real life, in other words, the whole gamut, all the fullness of it. Life is a performance of function, and the individual really lives only when he performs every function, physical, mental, and spiritual, of which he is capable without excess in any. So it's finding the balance. And I love that he says it that way, right? It's every function that we have, physical, mental, spiritual. And this is the triumvirate of who we are. We've got our bodies, we've got our mind, and then we've got our spirit, that which connects us to the all, right? And so he's saying we want that triumvirate to exist together. And there's it's actually a very old, there's a symbol that was used for quite some time in circles, where there's a circle and then there's a triangle that touches all corners, or touches in all points of the triangle in the circle. So it's a circle triangle, right? And in that circle triangle, that's actually an old religious system, and that's exactly a symbol, rather, I should say, that talks about exactly that. It is the connection of body, mind, spirit, our triumvirate pieces of ourselves, all of ourselves working together. But remember that extreme altruism is no better and no nobler than extreme selfishness. Both are mistakes, which is absolutely true, because we have to function in the world of, I have to interact. There's this, Neil Donald Walsh talks about it in Conversations with God and in Friendship with God. Absent each other's eyes with which to be reflected, we can get lost and not even know ourselves. We must have other in order to know us, right? We must have other. We must have that connection, right? There is need for that. So being all altruistic, just having the idea of altruism, which is perfect, altruism, we look that up in the dictionary, it talks about that it is highest mental plane of existence, right? Altruistic, right? It's not any better or nobler than extreme selfishness. Too much one direction, not in the other, which is what I was saying. Leaning one way and not being in all three leaves us out of balance. Wallace Wattles says this, the bottom of page 31 in my book: get rid of the idea that God wants you to sacrifice yourself for others, and that you can secure his favor by doing so. God requires nothing of the kind, so we're not supposed to sacrifice. What he wants is that you should make the most of yourself for yourself and for others. And you can help others more by making the most of yourself than in any other way. I want to say this again. This is really powerful. And we talked about that in every single book that I have read with you guys, right? Every single one of them talks about the value of us living true to ourselves. That if God wants us, if universal force, life, power wants us to be happy, joyous, and free, he wants that for us first and then for others. And there's this mistaken thing that we often get confused, or religion confuses. It says, love thyself as thy neighbor, which many people take to mean, well, I have to love my neighbor first and then I'll be loving to myself. But in fact, we must be loving to ourselves first in order to be loving to our neighbor. So what God wants is that you should make the most of yourself for yourself and for others. So doing this is in service to ourselves, right? And you can help others more So if you have the service mind, if the person who you are thinks of yourself as being of service, right? You can be You can help others more by making the most of yourself than in any other way. And this is in italics. This is important. This is something for us to pay attention to. You can help others more by making the most of yourself than in any other way. How is it that I can be making the most of myself? That I can be true to myself and then therefore be of service to you? We're going to talk about that more as we go on in this book. You must get rid of the thought of competition. You are to create, not to compete for what is already created. And so you are to create. And here's the thing. Now, I don't know how it is for you who are watching me, but I've had the thought. I can get myself into a thought. I've had it before, where I'm looking at people around me who are doing the work I'm doing, and then I'll start comparing myself to, right? And when I compare myself to, I put myself automatically into a place of competition. And guess what that does? That turns me into a victim. It turns me into a victim automatically. And so what Wallace Wattles is saying here is that we want to lose that thought of competition. And you know, when I talk about the fact that I have been able to put myself in that place of comparison, I hear it described this way. That is comparison despair. Every time we are comparing ourselves to other people, we are in despair. And that's whether we are saying, oh, I'm so much better than that, or I'm so much less than that. Either way, either extreme is comparison despair. And why is that? Because when we're saying that we're better than, we are putting ourselves separate from, right? And yet the truth is that we all are capable. Be willing and decide for you. You're doing great. Thank you, MJ. I really appreciate that feedback. That's so kind of you. And I am deciding for myself. I'm deciding for myself to be of maximum service. And I do this because I love this. And it helps me, believe it or not, as much, if not more than, it helps anybody who's tuning in. So anybody who's tuning in, first of all, congratulations and thank you. And it's an honor and a privilege to be able to be here of service with you.
My question for you is, have you had evidence in your life where you have had increase, where you've been seeing how you get to a higher plateau and all of a sudden there's a need for another higher plateau, and how it must be that you must advance, how your vision keeps growing and expanding? Have you had that happen? Make comments down below. I'd be interested to hear. Ciao for now.